Perfect.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right. Are we ready to get going? We're ready to get going. I got my coffee. Everybody got their coffee? Their lunch?
My coffee.
I'm
okay.
sorry to hear. I hope that you stay safe and that you're healthy and it's not contagious to you. And I'm so sorry to hear that. We're going to hear more of that, right? People reported sick and you got to go back and sanitize everything and, go
Well,
home.
we're hoping she's negative, but yeah, we have to go and do all of that stuff. So until we hear,
It's the
It's
it's the exposure. It's the exposure.
yeah.
Hi, Ceci. It's Christine.
Hi, Christine.
I'm all with you.
Thank you. We have a lot of people signed up and several people here at in the boardroom. So I'm going to get started. I'm Ceci Velasco. I'm the chairman of the Tourism and Hospitality Council. Enid, can you let me borrow the agenda? Sorry.
Good
Thanks.
morning, everyone.
Chris Rollins is my co-chair. He is the COO of the South Beach Hotel Group, the South Beach. Yeah, South Beach Group, right? South Beach Hotel Group. They have about 20 plus hotels. They are the largest hotelier in the city, but they're all over and they go up to Hollywood and above. He, after everything going on this entire year, this entire spring, Memorial Day, 4th of July, he is on his badly needed 1 week vacation and I wasn't taking that away from him. So I gave him permission to miss this meeting today, but he does send his regards. He is very active with me. I'm very excited to announce that on August 11, we are at the W Hotel hosting a happy hour send-off, a bon voyage to Bill Talbert, who will be retiring as the president and CEO of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. Listen, Bill, president and CEO, represents the entire county internationally, nationally, our go-to person. But I will tell you personally, to so many people in the industry, he has been a generous and selfless mentor. So I'm really happy that the chamber, through the Tourism and Hospitality Council, is going to throw this happy hour. It is going to be an in-person happy hour. Again, let's be safe, but let's come. It's going to be at the W Hotel. It will be in their lobby bar, but there's also spill off. So there is outdoor space as well in the pool bar, which they call Bar Irma, because it got destroyed during Irma, and that's why they rebuilt it. So there's going to be a spillover outdoors if you're more comfortable outdoors. There's going to be some indoors. I have a musical tribute to Bill, and so it's going to be quite fun. So put that in your calendar, 6 to 8, August 11th. I think the flyer went out today. But please come. And if you feel like there's somebody that is in tourism and hospitality that would benefit from the chamber, this would be a great time to invite them to join you, right? So the mission of the Tourism and Hospitality Council is to engage and be a resource for local companies in the travel and tourism industry and businesses supporting the industry to achieve success. The council will support chamber members by providing educational opportunities with industry leaders and keeping them apprised of trends and issues affecting the industry. Very, very happy that we, throughout COVID, have been able to provide some really insightful speakers that will help and that do help and work in our industry and elevate our industry at all times. So now we're going to go back to, I think we're going to continue doing hybrid probably for a very, very long time, right? It's just so convenient. We have people today and yesterday that are not even in the city, not even in the country, and they are able to come to our meetings via the internet. So I like the hybrid. I see Raquel Williams, the Director of Economic Development, on today, and I'm really excited about that because I think that we can even, I think we can even get more city participation if they don't have to stop what they're doing, get in a car, go park someplace. I mean, that takes a lot of time, and they are so overwhelmed with so much work that it takes to run this little tiny city that thinks it's a monster resort area, right? About 900,000 people that are residents, 15 million visitors every year. So there's a balance to be had. And I know their time is really precious. So I really appreciate them just even logging into the Zoom for today. I told you about the happy hour. Please send that out. I'm really proud of that invitation too.
Oh,
I
no.
think it's fun. All the former co-chairs. So I don't know, when I was here in Enid's position as the COO of the chamber, they didn't have a tourism and hospitality council. And I thought that was really critical. It is our number one industry. So I established the council probably 11 years ago, right? 2010, about 2010. And so I was the staff person, and Jason Buchema from What Travel was the very first chairman. So we haven't had a lot of chairmen. So for this send off for Bill Talbert, every one of the past co-chairs and chairman of the council are part of the host committee as well. So we're re-engaging members of the chamber that have been in leadership roles, that have been part and impacted the council. So it's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. And I just, also for me, it's my thank you to all of these council chairs for putting in their time. And I think that we can't forget the people in the past that have helped us get to where we are today. So that's kind of was my idea in bringing it all together. So yesterday we had a great tech council. I was like, it's perfect timing, right? We had a great tech council meeting, and today we have cybersecurity. Actually, this is really an interesting program to me. I was telling, we had this great conversation because I'm very digital and online sensitive. I used to work for the Illinois State Library. And libraries were one of the first people to get the internet. And at that point, it wasn't even called the internet, it was called the information superhighway. So we had, it was before the worldwide, it was before WWW, right? It was the information superhighway, and only libraries, Library of Congress, several governmental, very few people actually even had it. It wasn't, who's the vice
Universities.
president or what, universities. Yeah, whoever, I can't remember. I don't want to misstate it. Who was it? The Indiana vice president guy? What's his name?
Oh,
He did not invent the internet.
oh, Al Gore.
No, Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle said, I invited the internet. I know.
It was Al Gore.
I think we were talking that it was Dan Quayle.
And then the
Al
other thing,
Gore was the one that
Al
said
Gore,
that
okay.
he
I
invented
did
the
right the
internet.
first time. I was corrected. Al Gore did not invent the internet.
But we
The
forget that
Congress, the Library of Congress had it first. Universities had it first. So I'm telling you this because with this wonderful information sharing, right, there has to be security. These are assets. So the originally they titled the talk digital risk, what is it? Digital assets?
digital risk assessment.
Assessment of your assets, right? And I'm like, tourism and hospitality people are not going to understand that at all. So for me, it's about, you have information, you are responsible for information. You have a responsibility to secure not only your own company information, but the information on your guests. And also it reminded me that, those keys to get in hotel rooms, that magnetic, do you remember reading about how that magnetic stripe had all your information on it? So if you lost your key, somebody could hack into this, and yeah, they used to keep like your address, your home, when all your registration information on the magnetic. I'm talking a long time ago, but that was a big discovery, right? That was a big hack. Of course, they stopped doing that because that was a big hack. And then I was really excited about having this, but at the same time, it comes up that China is hacking the US, and a lot of private and corporate companies that was breaking news 2 days ago. So digital assets, the risk assessment, securing all this information, I think it's key. Tourism is our number one industry, so it's really important for our hospitality venues to understand what it takes to secure that data. And it's not just about sometimes housekeeping is the most important thing, checking people in, getting the pool ready, but bigger than that is securing the data of the customers that you serve. So with that, I'm going to bring on, and I'm going to switch chairs here. We have Michael Goldstein, who is the president and CEO of LAN Infotech, LAN Infotech. And I had a really quick conversation with him the other day, and he's just a wealth of information. So I'm going to switch.
Perfect.
And I think that you have more team on board and everything
Yes.
else. So I'll let you introduce yourself and your team. Mhm.
You can share. I'll just swap some of this
Oh,
stuff
that's okay. For me, it's fine.
whenever you want. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be actually physically here. This is actually my first trip in a year to the to the chamber. I'll talk a little about our company, but you brought up some really good points. And just to age the internet, 1969 was when the first internet was available. It was developed by DARPA, government agency that out there, and the idea was really to connect government facilities and get connected. I will tell you that I started in IT in 1983, so I'll leave it at that. Right out of college, and my first exposure to the internet was Hofstra University. I was doing some work over with Hofstra, and it was just kind of an amazing piece. So we really do have to talk about what our digital security is, and really it's cyber. So what do I share and sure, and you know what? Let's hit record.
I did already.
Oh, you did.
Oh,
Thanks. Thank you.
Enid.
Got it. Let me.
Great. Thank you.
Hmm?
That was great.
Thank you.
Not a Mac user, so how do I
I've done it a
make
couple of
this
times.
full?
I've done it a couple of
A few minutes.
times.
Perfect.
Just
And the old people can hear. You want to close this or they see? Okay, it's up.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone in Zoom land could actually,
Let me see, just to make your life easier, let me just minimize this.
So we can see it
Yeah.
there we go.
now. That's
Perfect. All right, guys. So I'm Michael Goldstein, and I'm President and CEO of Land Infotech. We have actually older presentation, so I'll bring up. We're 24 employees. We've been doing business in Miami for, 25, 30 years at this point. 24 employees. We cover the Tri-County area. We're really big in managing and making sure that we give back and work with the community. So besides being a trustee here in the Miami Beach Chamber, as you can see up there, we were basically, big chamber members all over the place. I'm on the board of directors in the Fort Lauderdale Chamber, but on this slide, one of the bigger organizations that I got involved with about 5 years ago is a group called InfraGard. And really, InfraGard, let me just make sure I got some of our other pieces that are out there. Really, InfraGard is a civilian organization funded by FBI, Secret Service, and Homeland Security. So every night I get briefs that come up there via email that talks about the cyber positioning in the world, and scary. It's like I'm reading a novel every night. When I log into the InfraGard website, I'm only able to stay on there 1,800 seconds. And the FBI warning comes up that the information that's inside of this website isn't for public display. That's there. So we see all the cyber attacks that go out there. We have access to databases, and we have access to agents that are there. The second largest Secret Service presence outside of Washington, D.C. is down here in Miami. So I've been out to the Secret Service headquarters a few times over in Doral, and they have an amazing cybersecurity lab that's there. At Land Infotech, we're kind of proud to be a winner of a lot of local awards that are there. The Daily Business Review Awards. We're one of the fastest growing companies by Channel Research News, as well as this year was the first time that we were able to make the Inc. 5000 regionals inside of Florida. So we were top 200 on there. So we really try to make sure that we give back. Now, we are a verticalized company, meaning that 60% of our business is law firms. Outside of that, we have a ton of not-for-profits. So for any of you that are involved in any true 501(c)(3)s, reach out to myself, and I have David Reese sitting here, and Glenn Benjamin. Microsoft and a lot of our partners give us the ability to grant tons of licenses that are out there. Schools, churches, any type of religious organization, as well as traditional not-for-profits. We donate a ton of our time out there. And during the pandemic, like these types of events, we have a big virtual environment where we can help you do these hybrid events, whether they need professional pieces or you're just looking to, as you said, reach out and touch people that are there. So definitely come out and talk to us and reach out. Now, as we all talked, is your information exposed? Of course it is. I think that in President Obama's last State of the Union, I was sitting out there so shocked to see the word cybersecurity. And lo and behold, X years later, it's an everyday occurrence. I've been in IT for 30 plus years. In my past life, I worked for the second largest law firm in the world. And this was over 30 years ago, where we had no internet, no connectivity. And I traveled around the world implementing networks for them and trying to see this. But technology didn't change, because back then I remember traveling, on a plane. I was the only guy that had a laptop. And I worked right in the downtown Manhattan district. And when I would go out for a case, they would tap me on the shoulder. I barely had a pager. There was no cell phone. And they'd send me on a drop of a dime all around the country. If I flew out of New York's JFK airport, I was in downtown Manhattan, for those of you that might know that, I'd go to the heliport. They'd fly me first class. I'd go out someplace in the world and my wife would never know where I was. I had nothing on me but what I carried. Brooks Brothers would show up at my door, measure me, go out there, and I have a week's worth of suit clothes. If I'd fly out of LaGuardia, I'd take a speedboat. And in that time, these things were very secretive. The Nabisco Macy's merger, a lot of things that are out there, we kept the secret pieces that are out there. And by me being out on a plane working on this stuff, there was no internet or connectivity. But things have changed a little. And now everybody that carries one of these devices thinks that they know IT, and they think that we're all secure. We were talking right before, how do we get on the internet here? And are you protected? So we'll talk about some of the things. I'll go through some general stuff. And being pre-pandemic, I probably traveled 10 to 14 days a month all over the country, and probably stayed in a lot of your properties that might be representative here. Clients that we locally work with are, the Turnberry line of properties. So the JW over there is one of our clients, plus Fontainebleau Development. We all know what happened pre-Super Bowl out to one of the properties close to here that's there, and we see it all the time. Being that one of my biggest life-changing experiences is that I was actually in Las Vegas, scheduled to go to that concert right before the shooting. And the only difference between me going there or not is that I was a huge hockey fan, and I had to go to the Vegas Knights' last home game, last preseason game. And I was with a group of guys. I'm not a country music fan, but as I was walking out of the arena, I noticed some people in the 90-degree October weather sitting out there in trench coats, old school raincoats. And with them were 4 Las Vegas style ladies. And as they started turning around, I noticed that from the back of their pocket, and hopefully you guys can see some of this on Zoom, these antennas were coming out. And I bring this up explicitly because this is a device that I purchased on the internet. So I convinced the people that were with me that, hey, listen, before we go for dinner and maybe to the concert, let's follow this group of people. So for those of you that have been to Vegas, I was at the T-Mobile. We followed this group of people to the Luxor Hotel. Sunday afternoon, NFL Sunday, watched the young guy set up at a table outside the sports bar. And these devices that the girls had were much smaller than this, but I saw him have a couple of iPads that came out of his trench coat with a lot of paper that was there. So I connected up to the free Luxor Wi-Fi. And again, all of you probably do this in every hotel that you stay at, connected to the free Luxor Wi-Fi. And I started just texting pictures of this young kid back to one of my other IDs. And I wanted to see what they knew. 10 texts later, I see the kid pop his head up and start looking around. Now, I had a lot of beverages. I traveled that whole morning from Miami to get there. And I figured, you know what? I'm in the middle of a hotel. What could happen? I was definitely bigger than him. So with the guys that were there, I walked over to the table and I showed him the text of who I was. Lo and behold, this hacker wasn't someone from China, wasn't someone from one of these foreign countries. He was a sophomore in UNLV. I offered to buy all of them, all they can drink and all they can eat, to just give us a half hour. Because where would I actually ever get to meet someone like this? And he showed me, a handwritten piece of paper that actually told him dates and times of where to be, had a device similar to this, and I'll talk about this in a second, connected to his iPad. And every weekend he would make anywhere between $2,000 and $7,000 just by having the ladies walk around with these devices in their pocket. This device is called a Pineapple. I bought it from a company out on the internet, publicly free available. And what they would do is they would simulate the Wi-Fi for the Luxor. And as any of us on an NFL Sunday, maybe you were betting, maybe you were talking to people, they were able to extract data and put it onto this iPad. So on Fridays, he would actually pick up this box from FedEx. Late Sunday nights, he'd bring that same box over to UPS, put all the equipment back in there, and he would receive money via PayPal. So I was mesmerized at that point. Late, I said to the guys that I was with, listen, guys, you know what? I'm not as young as you. At this point, I definitely had too much. I'm going to walk back to my hotel. They said, you know what? Some of them went to the concert. Everyone came back okay. But as I was walking the strip, walking across the Brooklyn Bridge area in front of New York, I heard the shots. And I actually didn't know what it was. You're in Vegas, you don't know really what's happening. I was staying in the Cosmopolitan, walked back to the hotel. The young guys were like, "One more drink?" I said, "No." I went up to sleep. 8 minutes later, they got caught in the lockdown for close to 4 hours. I went to sleep, turned off all my devices. I always do that. I have a 32-year-old, a 30, and a 26-year-old. They know I'm a huge sports fan, but my older one's a country music fan. And I had texted him early saying Dad might go to his first country music concert. I woke up to my watch vibrating like crazy and, saw what happened. And I started thinking about, wow, if I wasn't so curious, what could have, what should have been. Came back home and I bought this device on the internet. Watched 5 or 6 YouTube videos. So this device I could, and I never plug it in. I did this once where we ran an event at the BB&T Center. I got every of our attendees to agree that this was okay, that we were after I gathered the information, and I programmed it to just connect anybody that connected up to the Wi-Fi. I can gather from their phones every spot that their Wi-Fi had been. So if you guys don't know, wherever you connect up to public Wi-Fi, it's stored on your phone. I presented, I let the next presenter go on, and we gathered all the data just from this device. Now, lo and behold, we were a traditional male group, and that's where the subject comes up. Someone else come, I'll admit.
Thank you.
And we noticed that as we got all the data from their phones, there was a lot of, I'll just say it, a lot of women's names that tend to be dance clubs that people had off over their phone. And we showed them that we were able to gather all their data from the phones without them even knowing. They thought they were on the BB&T. If anyone's been in the arena, BB&T free, we simulated that. And the shock on everyone's face, because we all talk about cyber. Now, this is me buying something I found on the internet, and I watched 3 or 4 YouTube videos. Never plug this thing in again, but I show it everywhere. So for those of you that might be representing the convention center or representing a property, I never ever connect up onto public Wi-Fi unless I'm running a VPN, because I could be sitting in your hotel and I could actually be in a room just gathering data. I could be sitting at Starbucks. I'm the middleman, so I can gather your data. So I never ever use public Wi-Fi. I never charge my phone in Miami Airport. And if you start seeing suspicious people, and I have a lot of family in New York. I go up and I always like to stay in Times Square. My kids won't even walk with me anymore because I'm snooping. And you can tell the guys that are doing this. It's a public business. Anyone that has been overseas, and when you come back here, you're just like, oh my God, I need to get on Wi-Fi. Well, that could be Mike's Wi-Fi. So in essence, I always tell you that we really have to be aware. And this is something very simple that is readily available. Now, we'll talk about some of the things, and then we'll talk about what I do to kind of protect. Because in reality, we can't not be on Wi-Fi these days. So I will tell you to give you an end, but I'll go through this piece. I do my payroll on this. I do secure things. I am running something called a VPN. On my phone, if anybody is an AT&T provider and you're using an AT&T device, AT&T gives you have to request it, mobile security. So when I'm on Wi-Fi on my device, it's automatically VPN'd. I don't have to do it. And sometimes it blocks a site that maybe I should or shouldn't go to. Because yes, there's nothing perfect in this world. If the bad guys want to get in, like what happened to Kaseya a few weeks ago, or JBS or Colonial, or Kia Motors, or any of the ones that are out there, they can get in. But by you making it a little harder for everybody to get to your data, doesn't mean that they can't get to it. You're making yourself a little safer. Now, for those of you that run public Wi-Fi, so as an example, the synagogue that I belong to, dying for me to be able to go out there and be their IT provider. My kids go to school there. I don't want to be the provider in place there, but we help have committees and go out there. So if you are providing public Wi-Fi, make sure that your provider looks for rogue devices, so that if somebody walks in like me and sits in the lobby and plugs this in and simulates, the Miami Chamber, or simulates the Fontainebleau Hotel, somebody gets alerted, because you're all responsible. And it's not necessarily the risk that you have, it's the reputational risk that you'll go out there. And it's pretty simple. So we need to go out there and protect our pieces. And 80% of data breaches do come from the bad guys are looking for your personal information. And the cyber landscape really has gotten crazy since last year. I get updates all the time. I got one 10 minutes ago from one of our providers to look out for Olympic scams now. Listen, these things happen. There were Surfside scams that we got alerts that go out there. Of course, last year we saw a huge uptake in cyber scams just around COVID. We've all probably gotten those. And I'll talk about where some of these come from. Now, I joke about it and I say it all the time and I always get a laugh from it. How many of us in the room have a rich Nigerian uncle that's willing to give you $1 million? Okay. Last pre-pandemic, we were at the downtown Miami Beach, Miami Chamber doing this similar presentation. I asked the same question. We had a packed house, 2 gentlemen stand up. We didn't realize that they invited 2 people from the Nigerian Chamber of Commerce to come involved, and they stood up in full garb. They were the only ones in the room that truly did have it. And I will tell you, after that presentation, they found that so amusing. They FaceTime back with one of their senior presidents that were out there, they thought it was kind of funny. Now, we laugh at it, but if people didn't fall for that, those things would go by wayside. So in reality, P.T. Barnum always said there's a sucker born every minute. When we laugh at these things, we have to go back and look, and we have to sit there and say, you cannot say, I'm just a 2-person guy. They're not after my data. They are after your data. They're after your kids' data. They're after your family's data. Everything that these guys glean add to crime. Yesterday, I was honored to present in front of the Fort Lauderdale Chamber in a human trafficking event. Undercover police officer, Broward County Sheriff's on the board, and victims. And here I am to talk about cybersecurity, but they let it all in that organized crime, international organized crime, utilize these tactics to help fund all of these illicit activities. So you can't just say that it's just you, and I don't have to take precautions. Now, most of these breaches come from compromised credentials. Now, everyone will probably admit that when I go out there and I want to do something, if I wanted to register with my synagogue and I want to make sure that my bills come to me all the time, or I will say all my hotel frequent flyers, maybe they're personal things, but I use my business email. And I'll guess that 90% of you probably utilize the same password in your office that you actually use on those websites that are out there, or some derivative of that password. When you get compromised, you expose your whole company by just not following these tasks. And the bad guys are looking for these stolen credentials. And those stolen credentials are your personal information, social security number, credit card. I kind of view that the 2 most terrorized age groups are elderly and younger children. I have an 87-year-old mother-in-law and an 84-year-old mom. I had to convince them that Apple doesn't know who they are and call, the fishes that come in there. Every quarter I go with my mom, and she lives in Tamarack, and I help her put up these little warning signs that are out for people don't know, because they call, oh my God, it's Comcast calling. There's something illegal on my laptop, but my mother-in-law has Bluestream, not Comcast. So in reality, we have that. And also, as we went out last year, we did an initiative with Broward County Schools, and some of the public schools utilized our services for us to go out to people's homes to check their internet and make sure that their kids were browsing fine. My worst story was a 12-year-old on that machine. I go out there, tons of porn. I reported it back to the parents, and the father was like doing the typical male thing. Oh my God, yeah, the kid. I was like, you don't know what else they're looking at. So in reality, we don't know what goes in there. So I'll give a couple of tips that really carry through on all this. And it doesn't make a difference if you're a small business, you're a single practitioner, and protect your family. You have to make sure that every device that you own has some form of antivirus on there. It's a paid antivirus. It's not free. You have to go out there, and they come in all colors, shapes, and sizes. And for those of you that are exposed businesses, whether you're a public hotel or utility that go out there, you need something more strengthening, not the generic time that's out there. We utilize a product in-house for most of our larger clients that have something where it doesn't wait for somebody to hit in the world. On your laptop, on your device, if this software doesn't like what it sees, it disconnects you from the internet and then warns IT. And yes, we do get a 5 to 7% of false positives, but listen, getting that adrenaline going, knowing that something happened on your laptop and maybe a bad guy is looking into that data. So make sure that you have some antivirus. If you got one of these things called ransomware, don't wait for your son's girlfriend's brother to come out and help you. Seek out an IT professional, because the longer that you wait, the more that you can infect it. Now, I have a firewall and I keep my home very secure. I have 3 grandchildren under 2, and when my daughter-in-laws come over, everything's connected to the internet. The baby's little monitor, the cameras, we all hear about these things. So I take security seriously. If you're doing business out of your home, think about running that like a regular office. Firewall, antivirus. Seek an IT professional, because if one of your home machines gets infected, it's very easy for it to spread elsewhere. Very easy with minimal knowledge for me to take over your TV and turn on the camera. Minimal knowledge. Think about these devices. We were all joking about, some of the voice-enabled devices that, I could be talking about Oklahoma and next to my iPad, something pops up.
Mhm.
Big Brother's out there. And I'm a believer that we don't have all the answers for everybody, because I think that for every key, there's a lock. But you have to take precautions that are out there. Ransomware is the worst possible thing that you can go out there. And the only way to protect yourself from ransomware is to go out there and have a plan. There's no magical cure. We have many cities that are our clients. City of Dania Beach has been a 10-year client for us. We've had Secret Service come in and do free assessments. There's certain things that you can or can't do. But in reality, you have to have a backup. You have to go out there and make sure that you do some cyber awareness training for your employees. So antivirus, password policies. Oh my God, I can't imagine, what we go through with some of our clients, and someone is, we get to see some of the things. So as we present at conferences, or maybe I go meet with some staff that aren't management, they know the passwords for the big guys. I mean, all it takes is one person to go out there and ruin your reputation. Now, many of us will sit out there and you'll recognize a lot of logos up there. We are all connected no matter what. Whether you have a payroll system that's in place there, we all have some type of internet-based email. We all utilize these tools. I usually show a product that goes out there that I have free on my browser. It's called Ghostery. So not to pick on the travel industry, but if you go to Expedia.com and have this Ghostery product, there's probably 20 other tracking agents that go out there to make sure that you're connecting. Because in reality, all of those ads get your information some way, shape, or form. So there's public pieces that go out there. And then again, we have to go out then and protect things. Now, anything that you have the ability to go out there and put 2-factor authentication on, please do turn that on. So have something, know something. So what I usually say is, in the banking industry today, we all know that no matter what, I'm a BOA customer, but most of them are like that. You have to have something and know something. But your Amazon account, your Facebook account, your LinkedIn account, all of those things, you just turn on so that you get a text. And yes, it's a pain in the butt. Yes, the worst possible time you're waiting for that code to come in. But if you get hacked and someone knows your password, they do not have your cell phone. So it's very important that you enable this. We're a very big Microsoft shop. We probably manage close to 10,000 licenses of Microsoft Office 365 for some of the companies that we mentioned. We have clients all over the country. And in reality, the biggest thing that we see is that you get an email. I have samples of tons of these emails. I'll just skim through some of this just because I want to make sure of time.
Perfect.
This is an example of a phishing email that came across. Now, where this is important is it might look good. You might get an email, and it's kind of shocking for me to even bring this up, but we had 2 clients over the past weeks that I'll use it as a law firm, well-educated, multiple schools, multiple years of school going out there, got an email that was from the boss that said, go out, I need you to buy me 100 $25 iTunes cards. That person went to Best Buy, brought the cards, and then the managing partner got me on the phone after to hear this. I said, oh man, can I come in and take a picture of this guy holding this receipt? Went there. Luckily, we got Best Buy to take the cards back. Those are the simplest things. We had a large property management firm a week ago. Their CFO, who was traveling, had his laptop hacked. they actually didn't have two-factor authentication set up on there, and his Office 365 account got hacked, meaning that the bad guys were seeing all of his emails. They knew that he was out on vacation in some remote area. They got a copy of one of the wire instructions to one of their low volume banks. So again, the guys, these aren't just dumb criminals. They scoped this out. They were in there for weeks, took the wiring instructions and wanted to wire $1.7 million. That's $1.7 million for a small property management company out from the fourth operating account back to another wired bank that was a US bank, and knew that he was out. And he said, hey, listen, I'm out on vacation. You know, my out of office, you might see that. Contact this if there's any questions. Luckily, the smart banker that was their banker for 20 plus years called the owner of the company. Found out that we've been talking to them for months to put on two-factor authentication. So guy probably got a fish similar to this, popped on something, put his username and his password to Microsoft, or it could have been Google, or it could have been any of the under hundreds of online accounts. The bad guys now had access to read everything. In this scam, what they did is they sent a few emails back and forth and they hid it in the sent items. So no, from the sent items, it was one dummy folder that was out there. Many times we see these bad guys set up shop and just do forwarding rules. So everything that you might send or to the bank, the CFO, all that information are forwarded to a Gmail account. These guys have access. They know what you do. Simple fix, two-factor authentication. Can we fix examples of phishing out there? We can't. We can get, I will tell you at Land Infotech, I think last month, we get over 500,000 emails. We're 24 employees, 500,000 emails any given month. And last month was even more. Tickets that come in, everything. 70% of the email that we get automatically gets caught by our security software and flagged as spam. But a plain text phish, and sometimes these guys, I don't know what their game is. Hey, can you go out and do this for me? The guy that they bought the iTunes cards. They went out there. There was no address to send it to. There was no link. It was just malicious. So some of these are, pure text. Now, what you can do, and it sounds kind of dumb, and I don't think my message changed in 40 years of IT. I remember when my mom used to send me out, to school, I'd say goodbye, I'd walk 4 miles to school, it would be like cross at the green, not in between. Don't talk to strangers. All these basic things. We gotta read our emails. Examples like up there, looks like it's a CDC email that comes out. Things to look for in these phishing examples. Hey, listen, we have to go back to old school. If you get that weird email that comes across and it's like, wow, wants me to go to the store, wants me to click here, call. Don't call the number that's in the email because the bad guys are sitting there putting information in that email. There's nothing wrong with, hey, John, I got this weird email from you. You need me to buy these iTunes cards. I need me to wire this stuff. We have to go back to old school. A lot of these emails, I could go out there and anybody here could go out and create a Gmail account, a Yahoo account on any one of our names. We have to read the email. If it looks a little weird, hover your mouse over that email, like you see in the picture here, and you could see that it would actually show you where that email came from. We all know that CDC-gov. This is just a classic example of it. If you were looking or expecting something from your banker, highlight it. Your banker's not using a Gmail account. The name looks fine. And you see that it'll be a weird click. I got a sequence of emails over the past few weeks, past due PO. Need you to fulfill this. It's a company I never even heard of. I go out there, it's not something that I know. I delete it. You know what? If it's that important and someone's looking to collect from me, they're going to call me. They're not going to send me an email. Remember, the IRS isn't emailing you. Apple's not emailing you. So we got to reach for these. Lots of times they're misspelled. You'll see weird misspellings. You'll see a vague, very generic piece. Dear Sir, Madam. Does your banker, does people go out there and send emails like that? Most of the time, it's just a generic email that's there.
Work on spell check.
Spell check is on there, poor grammar. So you really got to go out there and listen. If you clicked on something and you weren't paying attention, because listen, I know as it gets between 5:30 and 7 at night, I got 2 phones, 3 laptops going on. My wife's knocking on my door. you know, my kids are yelling what I have to do. We all might click on something. If you open the PDF and it's asking for your Microsoft login, there's something wrong. If people, I don't know many people outside of your companies, but most people don't send me a Word file outside the company. I would never open up a file that someone sent me that might or might not been a PDF. And if it prompts you for username or password, there's something wrong. Reach out to IT just in case they didn't drop something on your computer. Now, we also get texts. I mean, God, I was happy when elections were over because between the calls that were coming in, the texts that come in, these bad guys are texting you links. If you got a weird email that I saw a weird text that had a link in it or someone you don't even know, I'm just blocking it. I don't get, if I don't recognize a number, I'll go out there and I'll say, who's this? Or I'll look in my contacts. You know, real important that we just don't get click happy because that's what these bad guys do. I will send out and have them distribute a card of things. Now, I kind of did like a CDC thing there of good email hygiene. Watch for overly generic content and greetings. Examine the email address. These things sound like basic things, but I got to tell you that 80% of the time, some of this stuff could have been presented. Look for these urgency demanding actions, check the links, misspellings, weird websites, you know, and don't click on attachments right away. And anything that you can turn on 2FA. Now, you mentioned Irma, there were a couple of hurricanes in the past, 2 hurricane pieces. I will tell you 2 hurricanes ago. On the Friday, like everyone else, I went out and I bought tons of different items in tons of different stores. When I had my in-laws and my mom staying with me, I felt like I needed to be a little more prepared. Well, that Friday night, and it was a Labor Day because I remember watching the US Open. On Friday night, I got a call from American Express and Mr. Goldstein were calling, and I got a text and we're looking to evaluate these recent charges. Now, American Express did call and I got 3 of these phone calls during the weekend. And they actually each time had 3 unique charges on my American Express account to the penny, like, you know, $42.22. It wasn't just the gas station charge.
Mhm.
So I validated those charges, but on one time they caught me and they asked for some more information. And I thought it was a little weird and I let it go. That Monday, I'm watching the US Open and all of a sudden I started getting thousands of emails from all over the world. Different emails, like from the San Antonio Times, all these places that I went out there and it was like an email storm and I didn't know what was happening. And it was just happening to me. That night, you know, I deleted a bunch of things. That night, my wife and I were checking on a trip that we were going on and I logged into my American Express account and I noticed that every one of my rewards points was gone. Hundreds of thousands. I travel a lot. So you guys think about that. And I noticed that all of them were converted into iTunes cards and the iTunes cards went out. So I called American Express on a Labor Day, probably at 8 at night, frantic, because I'm like, how could this happen to me? And they went through and they told me that someone grabbed some of my information and we went through all the stuff. I will tell you that American Express within 10 minutes had all the miles back in my account. They voided the card. And that night I was furious because I kind of said, hey guys, you know, you're my only security vendor that doesn't have 2-factor authentication. And the guy says, listen, sometimes in our credit card world, it's a little harder in some of these things. And American Express treats their clients a little differently. And I was like, I'm still kind of shocked. I went through this. A week later, I started getting those same phone calls. Called back, I got everyone on the other end of the 800 number is a manager, but I got someone that I really did look up and he really was one of their higher level people in cybersecurity. And I went through that time and I changed every one of my passwords. I have close to 1,200 passwords for me, for my company, for chamber things, for my kids' passwords, everything. And I changed everything. And I requested, and I was told that I had to fill out a form to actually get 2-factor authentication. Fixed everything again. The account wasn't compromised, but I said, you know, it's kind of weird. How the heck do these guys, if they're bad guys, actually get the charges? You know, American Express couldn't help me on this. Week later, I got another email. The email looked identical. So the things that I'm showing you here looked perfect, but it was weird. Hey, you've changed, got someone else, and I was involved in a cyber focus group. And what it came back down to is that day where I got thousands of emails, that's their trick, because they flood you with a bunch of emails and that you don't notice that they actually changed your password as one of the emails that come through there. And I'm on two-factor authentication, but we must double check this. So if you're getting thousands of emails, all I kept thinking is, man, hurricane, holiday, I'm never going to see my emails the next day. My clients are communicating to me. So they did an email storm, so I might not have seen those pieces.
Mhm.
So again, look for vendors that you can trust to go out. Make sure that you are using a secure service to manage this. We use a service called Mimecast that we use, and Mimecast builds in impersonation protection. So for a lot of our CEOs, CFOs, anyone in the finance department, we actually look at their name. And if, as an example, and we have a couple of summer interns that work for me, and I see them get spams that look like it comes from me, but Mimecast stops it. So anything that isn't Michael Goldstein at landinfotech.com, but it might have my name as Michael Goldstein with a dumb Gmail account, Mimecast blocks it. We use that for impersonation protection. We also remap all the URLs. So if you're getting a email that comes in with a link and you click on the link and you catch it really quick, you'll see that Mimecast filters all of those URLs. So I do feel better that if I did click on something, and occasionally, especially in hospitality or in our property management practice, you're used to getting a lot of emails from Gmails. Global X Airlines is one of our large clients. A charter airline started up 1.5 years ago. We have to deal directly with Hotmail lots of times to whitelist people because in hospitality, you're going to have people that aren't dealing with corporate emails. So again, some things are going to be caught, but you have to use that 90-10 rule to make sure that something is looking over your shoulder, because we can't really trust every employee's click. So, 50% of business PCs that were infected once are definitely reinfected. We see that. We've had clients that go out there, I will say prospects, where we've taken someone from fixing them in a ransomware world. We've picked up a couple clients that actually paid the ransom. And 3 months later, no matter all the tools we put in, they got it again. Just because that these infections, unless you're able to go and clean all the data, they know that you're a target. And these guys, like I said, could be, the school student. Most of the data that these guys collect, especially on the credit card pieces that go out there or your personal information, are for sale on the dark web. I know that you can't watch, news TV between 6 and 10 o'clock at night without seeing an ad for it, whether it's Discover or one of the other services. I kind of urge everybody to go out there and do something like LifeLock, not just the credit search, but make sure that you're looking at all those pieces, because your data then becomes for sale on the dark web. Now, what that means is the bad guys, and we were talking about the internet, there's no World Wide Web on the dark web. You use a special browser, you can go to a site and you can buy almost anything on there. We did a presentation a couple of years ago with a Secret Service agent that came in for the Fort Lauderdale Chamber. A few days before, the guy called me and said, "Hey, listen, we'd like to do a demo. Would you mind if we went on some illegal sites? We're going to go on some things." And I thought this was a test. Like, agent, what do I say to you here? We're in a public area. He goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. I come in with my Secret Service laptop. We connect up onto our Wi-Fi." And we had 60 people in the room watching this Secret Service agent translate the Russian, buy 1,000 credit card pieces for no more than $50, all the information, go on to Macy's.com, log in, and saw him buy $900 of Farberware. Now I know what Farberware is. If you don't know, Google it and watch this. 60 people at the edge of their seat, including me, speechless. Watched him buy this, go out there. He let it sit in for a little while and said, "All right, listen, I really did buy that data." And it was a random bank. It was an April date because he had asked someone to pick a bank because all the banks were up there. I happen to be a big Florida Panthers hockey fan. I saw Ottawa the night before. So I said, "Hey, Scotiabank," not something that anyone might even know. Saw him buy it. And he said, "Listen, we have this program with Macy's that when I log in with this special account, they do process the credit card, but they don't charge it." So we got to witness what could happen to any of us that's out there. Now, the dark web is a tool for these bad guys, but any of us, I can stalk any of you just by going out there, looking at the name badge, following you on Facebook, looking at all that information out there. We're publicly putting a lot of our information out there for the bad guys to learn a little more information about you. Know your title. Search on LinkedIn to find out who are the big guys that are out there. kind of guess at your email address. So in reality, as we talked about when there wasn't internet, or when I started traveling, I was the only guy that had the brick phone on the walking the street, or the laptop. Now we're all publicly accessible. So what is the bad guy sitting in the corner of the American Airlines terminal trying to steal information? They want to gather information and hope that they get someone's name and information and a little insight to go out there to hack you and further get into your company. So, and I have snapshots of the dark web. Every time we do something with the Secret Service, we always ask, and my favorite story about the dark web, and it sounds kind of funny, but it's hitman.com. It's not that site, but it's very similar to that, where every year, no matter what the government does to hide this site, it's up there. Clearly in English, kind of says, you can put a hit on anyone for this fee. And they had certain restrictions. They had no national targets, so president, CEO, although president, anyone in government, and no one under 15. But you could see that on there, you can buy it, pay with Bitcoin, and for a fee, you can go out there. And this site is a real site. Sounds kind of funny. But of course, you can go up there and buy credit card information, passport information, illicit drugs that are out there. A little easier on the dark web than walking South Beach on the corner and looking for finding someone. So the dark web is really out there, but the bad guys use this as a tool. So it's really important that we go out there and we try to protect ourselves, because all that data is out there. Now, one of the recent breaches that you might or might not have heard about is, anywhere we drive down here is the Park Mobile app. They were hacked. So every one of us that had an account with Park Mobile, your data's on the dark web. Now, it might not be all your data, but it's your name, your address. So in reality, it could be your social, could have been the credit card that was out there. So I use something that, pre-pandemic or now, I live on the Park Mobile. Find a spot, I don't care where I'm going, got the code, we all kind of use it. Geico, we see all these companies that are out there. So it's important that we kind of know, what we have, and we can find anything on the dark web. So as we go out there,
I thought it was fictional.
it is real, and it is like the movies. And part of when we integrate and meet with Secret Service, FBI, CISA, all of these people, we experience it. And when you see it, and when you see someone do this, I can't urge enough. So now that I painted the internet as this bad tool that's out there, let's talk about, what things that you should do as individuals. Make sure that you secure your password. Make sure that you have some antivirus. When you pick a password, shouldn't be any derivative of your dog's name. I pick on the dog, we go out there and do that. Your kid's name, have a phrase, have something similar, have something that doesn't reflect you, not your business name. Because I tell you that lots of times when we look at this, people still use it. And I laughed about the Nigerian piece. People still use password 1234. They're very seasonal. I'm sure there's a plenty of people that, thought that maybe in Milwaukee now they'll use Anatakumbo with a number as a password. We see a lot of these reports that are their seasonal passwords that people pick.
What is
He's the star of the Milwaukee Bucks. People put that, they would have had Bucks in 6. We see a lot of these reports that come out that people pick these regional pieces that are out there and use these as their passwords. Very easy to hack. To think of that on my Facebook page, all I did is post Milwaukee Bucks things and to go out there and try to go out. These guys have sophisticated tools that gather pieces of your information and try permutations of the passwords. So you really have to make sure that you secure your password. And make sure that your data is backed up. We all laugh. I think one of my early school teachers kind of said, hey, when you assume, I think you guys have heard it, but I'll say it, assume, ask you me. So in reality, you got to go out. You can't assume anything. Make sure that your data is being backed up. For me, I have 3 grandchildren under 2. So I will tell you, in 2 years, I probably quadrupled the amount of cloud storage. So God forbid that I lost pictures. That would be the end to me. I tell clients that you really have to treat your data like that. If all your documents exist just on your laptop, or you're one of those people that pin everything to your desktop, probably not being backed up. You get hit with a ransomware, you're screwed. Because in reality, you don't want to pay the ransom. You feel like you're violated, but we can't unencrypt that data. Or you had a virus that came out. or the hard drive crashed, make sure that you're backing up your data. If you work for a company, ask your IT guy. I urge people, ask the questions if you're in management. What are we backing up? How often do we back up? What if the data goes out? Who's our provider? It's really important to know that it's not, Joe's Warehouse that's backing it up, or, this consumer type backup. Because in the case of a lot of these companies, they have gone back out and successfully been able to restore their data. I will say that the certain hotel that was on the beach, we were involved in some of that piece to go back and see what their plan was. And they were able to kind of recover, kind of quickly. And, you look at some of the things like we saw in the past news stories, whether I lose track, whether it was Colonial Pipeline or JBS, the Secret Service and FBI for us small guys aren't going out there running a scam to try to catch these guys to get your money back. And the last part that's important is that, does anybody know where to go out there and buy Bitcoin? God forbid your data got encrypted and your management felt like you were going to go out and pay the ransom. Where do you get it? How do you get it? So it's real important to go out there and assess things. So I'll open up for questions. Make sure that you are working with an IT professional.
What happened with the government that just got hacked?
So
The latest,
specific, because there's so many breaches. Are you talking about?
the latest one, the biggest.
It was in the CNN,
So
China
that was-
hacked the US.
So that was
2 days
actually Kaseya, who's a local Miami company. So I will say that, and again,
ago.
you-
Kaseya, what do you mean? That was
Kaseya,
actually Kaseya.
Kaseya is so as the news feed hit a couple weeks ago that it said big China breach, turned out that Kaseya is a local IT company, kind of $100 million company that's based in Miami.
Mhm.
And what happened to them is that
They are the ones that got hacked.
they're the ones
Oh.
that got hacked.
Oh, I see.
So there, and it's kind of funny when you're involved in it and you kind of look at the news flow. We knew because we are a Kaseya customer. And what happened is that some cloud providers go out there and we're hosted in Kaseya's cloud, but some people utilize the Kaseya software on their local machines, and some of their customers got hacked. So the $72 million ransom, if you follow it anywhere, there was the company called RE Evil that was supposedly out of Russia. And in reality, they thought that they can go out and affect the 35,000 customers that were out there, and they didn't. So I'll go back one below that when we look at Colonial Pipeline, because again, I joked about JBS was the meat company and Colonial Pipeline was the gas. Chris Krebs, who was the ex-CISA, security czar under Donald Trump, he actually went out and said, now people are noticing because you have to wait in gas lines and you can't get hot dogs. So in reality, what happened with some of those is in the example of Colonial Pipeline, they didn't plug all the holes that they had open. If you're running Windows 7, they had a breach. They had someone that bypassed their security. And it doesn't have to be the Russia, it doesn't have to be China. Right now, I can go on the dark web and I could become a ransomware person. Hackers as a service. So in reality, we have to have somebody evaluate your cyber position. And this is something really simple. We do it for tons of customers out there. Looking at how your cloud might be configured, what your workstations are. Apple's notorious for every time there's an update, they force you to do it. The little red piece comes out there. Well, in Microsoft's the same thing. But we've looked at customers that are still using Windows 7, which is 8-9 years old that are out there. No firewalls, don't have a password policy, don't have any cyber plan. These are small little items that you really should have. And in reality, a lot of these companies, we would have expected that a larger company like the two I mentioned would have happened. The Kaseya hack was a little different because they were relying on third parties that utilize their software. And I do think the news blew that out of proportion. But we all saw Colonial Pipeline and JBS to just affect, and I didn't realize when we saw that there might be a meat shortage that JBS is an international company. They're all over the world. They just attacked the US side of it. So in reality, we all have to be prepared to go out there. And it could be as simple as, hey, I'm working from home. I need to connect up to my workstation that's sitting on the Colonial Pipeline network, which was one of the breaches. We had the city of Jupiter have problems. We've had Fort Lauderdale have problems. We've seen some other companies that are in place there. So as a business owner, we tell people that it starts off in your own place. We have to change what people do. At LAN, for all of our customers, we have a plan that we put out there as a per user per month plan that's out there. So as you scale and go, we also offer cyber awareness training because it's real important to go out there to let people know this. You know, they might not be following the news. They might think that that link is okay. What things to look for. So I think you have to change what your cyber presence is. I wish I had a better answer on that and some of the stuff. And Kaseya still is suffering from that and haven't put out their report as to what happened. They've just reported back to their customers. So in reality, they did involve the government and Secret Service and FBI to come in.
From a policy perspective, what is out there to protect consumers like us? As far as. government-
Antivirus, password. I utilize a password manager. My passwords, I'll tell you that, you know, years ago, I probably, you know, someone asked me for my mom's telephone number. I don't even know her number. It's speed dialed. So in reality, with my passwords, I have them encrypted. So there's a whole set of plans that are out there, but we find many times that we come into consumers and they're like, you know, I keep canceling that. I keep getting this pop-up that my antivirus expired. I'm not going to pay the $30. Got to have some antivirus. Got to have some backup. And we all have to look at who else is using our network in our house. When we started helping people to work from home, you know, I can't put this software on this machine. It's my 10-year-old school machine. Listen, we all have to take a step back. What would it take? What would it cost you in downtime if someone hacked your identity or God forbid they filed a false tax return? If you tried to get out of the IRS tax return out there saying that wasn't me, listen, think about how many millions of people do that. You know, and the pre-pandemic, the reason why Miami was the second largest Secret Service presence is because we lead the country in credit card fraud, banking fraud. Statistically, it's there. So in reality, you just have to think about these things. Look, read, have a secure password, maybe use a password manager. Make sure that everything in your house has some antivirus. You know, I'm not saying you have to be, you know, the cyber king, but these are just some basic things because I always joke, and I'll leave you with this, that I live in a gated community in West Boca. Across the street from me is an ungated community. And, you know, pre-pandemic kids would laugh, you know, some of my friends would laugh. They'll come in at like 9 at night and they're like, how's that guy the security guard? I say, listen, think about the low-level criminal. Gets up to this spot, he looks to the right and sees a guard gate, doesn't know who is or isn't there, looks to the left and sees an ungated community. You want to give that approach of having gated, having some antivirus. If you're in public Wi-Fi, think about using VPN. And I just told you that if you're an AT&T customer, it's free. My device is fully, because I have an AT&T device and I don't have a super AT&T wireless service. Think about those things. And then if you are concerned, you know, we don't service homes, but I say, listen, if you think you have something wrong, go to Best Buy and let them do a checkup. Don't just call someone. You always have to utilize an IT professional. If any of you that are on the call or anyone that's here is interested in a dark web search, we could provide the dark web search, but we have to have a business domain. So any business, I don't care how big or small you are, you know, contact us, email us. We'll run a dark web search just so you can see what's out there.
And you have somebody that's online that's putting all your information into the chat, correct?
Glenn will be out there and put it on there.
Christine's got a question for you.
Hi, yes, great presentation. We at Coral Gables Trust, we have our CFO Dominique, who really is on top of cybersecurity and all of it. But what is your most trusted VPN service? For years, I was an Amazon Web Service user. Is that still the case, or should I be looking somewhere else?
So most of the current providers do offer, you know, VPN services. I'm not one of the ones that, you know, I see an ad and I'm not knocking this, but Nord advertises a lot. But in reality, those public VPNs aren't for me because I don't know where their data is. So lots of times your provider can offer a VPN. You can get an AT&T VPN, you can get a Verizon VPN. There's a lot of different VPN software. And I will tell you that, you know, in my new post-pandemic going to Starbucks, I tether my phone. I don't go on the public Wi-Fi anymore. So lots of times, and I joke about this when I travel. I do travel. Most of you probably don't even know what it is, but I always plug in with an Ethernet cable in my hotel room because I don't want my Wi-Fi to go out there. So it sounds kind of funny, but that's just me. And I have like a 20-footer. So like it's 1 a.m, I can't sleep and I want to stream on Netflix. I don't want to rely on, you know, I'll just pick on, you know, Marriott internet because I'm connected. So again, I try to tether and stream from my service because I'm on an unlimited plan. That's your best security. So definitely Amazon is definitely a good choice.
Good. So it's 1:20. I know, this is a great conversation, actually.
I'm gonna stop the share. and
Stop
then just
sharing and,
pass it.
yeah, we could just pass it on, that's fine. I thought it was really fascinating.
And
Yeah,
can
I
go on
had
for
it.
hours
Did
on it.
anybody else get a really, what do you call it? Separation anxiety complex on your animal during COVID? Because right now I can't leave him at home by himself. He will have panic attacks when I get home. He'll be so excited. So Bentley is here. Hi. Listen, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's 1:20. We have a couple of, I know all of you on the Zoom can put all your information in the chat. In the room today, really quickly with me, introduce yourself.
My name is Francesca De Gracia. I'm an intern of the Ocean Drive Association. Hi, everybody.
So Francesca is our intern, my intern for the Ocean Drive Association.
Hi, I'm Jean Dorcelian with Eclair FC. And
Oh, great.
Hello, John Janis, Director of Economic Development, Freebie.
Freebie, John from Freebie.
Hi, everyone. Stephanie Ledger with First Rate Hospitality.
Great.
David Reese, Landon Hotel.
David Reese.
Matt Pocock, founder of a hospitality startup called Boombox.
Room Box.
Boombox.
Okay. And
Guys, Kevin Kruger, Rise Commercial Realty, as well as Miami Athletic Association, which promotes and produces sports tourism.
oh, perfect. Okay, and I'm Ceci Velasco. I'm the Executive Director of the Ocean Drive Association. I'm also on the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association Board, and on the county's Economic Recovery Task Force. So I probably worked more during COVID than I normally do because of all of the policies and issues and industry issues that we had to go through. So be kind to your association that you belong to and know that they're there for you. And most of the people that are working there are volunteers. And really, it took a lot. And these associations stepped up during COVID. So I'm saying re-engage as a member because they live off of your memberships. You are what holds them up and they are there for you. So thank you for being part of tourism and hospitality today. We will see you at, wait a minute, there's a couple of things from the chamber. Chamber chat, 9 a.m. every Tuesday morning with Mayor Gelber or somebody from his staff with some relevant information and policy happening in the city of Miami Beach. On 7/28 at noon, social media workshop by Hector Garcia from RKTR Agency. On 8/11, our Tourism and Hospitality Council is going to be hosting a bon voyage for Bill Talbert at the W Hotel. I expect to see everybody there, please. August 27th at 11 a.m., the Badass Woman of the Year Awards. So all that information is on the chamber website. September 18th, the Miami Beach Chamber Gala. We haven't had a chamber gala for quite some time. It is the event of the year. So please, everyone, check in on coming to the event. And in it, I believe that we can still provide auction items to the chamber for the gala.
Absolutely, we are collecting them, and so if you have any items, tell us what the value is, what you'd like to to offer, and of course we're going to promote the heck out of you leading up to a few days leading up to the gala, because we do it by BidPal, so it's not just the day of the gala that you're going to get this exposure.
Listen, it's as good for the chamber because it's definitely a fundraiser for the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. For the Education Foundation, right? But number two, it is a marketing opportunity for you to get your business out in front of every single chamber member and beyond, because the gala has always been one of the city's favorite events of the year. So make sure you get your name out there, provide some kind of an auction item, reach out to Enid, and support the Education Foundation. Of course, if you can go, please, if you can buy a table, wonderful. I know it's going to be a really hot event, so get in there early. And listen, I want to see everybody at the August 11th event, so I hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't forget to download the chat. I'm not going to end it really quickly, but don't forget to download the chat so you can get everybody's information.
Then you can press stop recording.
I will. Oh, I will.
Otherwise, we have these wonderful after conversations.
Actually, I don't see. Oh, there's stop
Or it
recording.
becomes
Ah,
gigantic.
Stop.